This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, I'm a co-producer on 13 Fanboy. I'm involved in 7 James Balsamo films, cameo and associate producer. And most recently, I'm an associate producer on Hearts of Darkness, The Making of the Final Friday. And I have on the phone with me, I think, probably my 8th or 9th guest from that movie, that documentary. I have the wonderfully talented Nick Hunt. How do you do, Nick?
Oh, how are you, Greg? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I was talking to Adam Marcus a few nights ago, and he was telling me that I am going to enjoy talking to you.
Well, that's great to hear. You know, I guess the word of mouth has got out that I am an entertaining interview.
You know, I saw a picture of you on Facebook, and you had a mustache, and you kind of resembled John C. Reilly. Have you ever gotten that before?
John C. Reilly. I actually have not gotten that. You know, I've gotten Chris Farley back in the day, obviously.
Okay.
And there was an MTV VJ. I can't remember what his name was, but it was a rather brutish fellow, and he was bald and white. And I can't remember for the life of me what his name was, but I've been compared to him. But I've also lost about 150 pounds over the course of 2 years. So
okay, well, you're like myself. You have a regular job, just like me, because I volunteer here, and yet we're thrust into this like you're my 350th interview, and it still hasn't dawned on me that I'm interviewing people from all these movies, and now I'm going to conventions and stuff, and now I'm part of these movies, and it's strange for me in a good way. And I know that you have a regular job as well, and you have a fiance, and has this hit you yet?
Well, you know, in certain instances it has, because you know, like you, I have many other things that I'm working on in this industry. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I have come across some of the most incredible people in the world. I've come across some people that I thought to be heroes and revealed themselves to be less than savory characters in this business. I've, you know, dealt with shysters. I've dealt with angels. You know, it's been an incredible run. And, you know, when I first considered getting into this business, you know, I always told myself that I had to come with a certain sense of realism and keeping myself grounded, because truthfully, you know, few and far between do people actually succeed in this industry, you know, if we could all be honest. Mm-hmm. And, you know, so you have to go in knowing that that what you've done could be the last one, and that you have to do whatever you can to make your mark, and to do something profound and do something that people will enjoy and will have a profound effect on them.
Who were the people, like the heroes that you met that you enjoyed meeting? Well,
you know, I will say that I was talking to Michael Madsen.
Okay.
When as it pertains to casting for a film, and it was right around the holiday season, coincidentally right around this time, and he was talking about the fact that his son was going into the military, and that his wife and him were going to Barbados for Christmas because it was their first Christmas away from their kid. And you know, he was just, you know, he sounded exactly like he sounds in every film that he's ever been in. He was very blunt about how he felt about the industry and how he was very independent. He was very straightforward about, you know, if you give me the money, you know, chances are I'll do the movie. Mm-hmm. And you know, he was just such a nice guy and such a warm guy to talk to. Kane Hodder was one of the first people that I talked to about Hearts of Darkness.
Was he, quote unquote, nothing but a great big pussy?
No, well, no.
You know, the Jason Goes to Hell quote that his own character says about himself.
No, Kane was one of the most well-spoken, articulate, soft individuals that I had ever met. He had so many. I mean, as soon as we got on the phone, the first time we spoke for nearly 2 hours. And it was just idea after idea he had for the documentary, and things that he wanted to see and things that he thought the fans would want to see. And, you know, we were just talking about his experiences on the film and things that he wanted to include and things that we should go to this person for and that person for. And he was just so into it. It was just like we you know, even though he had probably been approached in the past, and obviously there had been documentaries done about the franchise, including, you know, little tidbits about Jason Goes to Hell. But truthfully, there's nothing that's been really done in a feature length sense about the making of. And I think that he really got a kick out of that, and it really showed. And that was something that was just, you know, I mean, it made me feel really good, because that was one of my big goals, was to go back to these people that put their heart and soul into this movie to make it what it was, and, you know, show the love to them, because in these other documentaries, a lot of these people weren't even interviewed. You know, one of the first people like Kane that I spoke with in this was Katherine Atwood, who plays Alexis, one of the campers in the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
And she was so excited when I originally talked to her, because she was never even interviewed for the book. She wasn't interviewed for any of the other documentaries, and she was just sort of forgotten. And I didn't want to be like that. I wanted every Joe and Jane that was involved in the whole thing in 1992 and 93 to be involved, and to let their voices be heard, and to have their experiences get told, and to feel good about this little thing that they made. You know?
Leslie Jordan might be a hard one to get.
Oh boy, but it is something that you know, we're working on it. We're, you know, we have some tricks up our sleeve. You know, I am an absolute fan of Leslie, and I have heard that he is one of the best interviews in the entire universe.
I've tried to get him on here. I've tried to get Kane on here too. I interviewed Ted White on here twice, who played Jason in Friday the 13th, the final chapter. And I got to say, Ted White's my favorite Jason out of the bunch. But Ted said great things about Kane, and he trusted me enough. He gave me the number for Kane Hodder and for Judy Aronson. But I am going to say this, though. Kane... I'd say out of all the Jason movies Kane was involved in, I think I kind of like Jason Goes to Hell the best.
Right.
Out of the ones he was involved in. I hated Jason X, mind you, I gotta say, but I consider that the worst one.
Just like Jason Goes to Hell, it's not everybody's favorite cup of tea.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you have a favorite in the franchise?
Oh, wow. See, I have to say that overall, my favorite would have to be Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. Just because aesthetically, the look of Jason was probably my favorite. And then it turned up the camp factor to maximum. It had some fantastic and inventive kills. It had... of course, I can't remember the actor that plays the Dr. Cruz character.
Terry Kaiser.
Terry Kaiser, yes, Weekend at Bernie's. I mean, come on. And of course, people that would probably throw a banana at me for saying this, but Mannequin 2 on the Move. Yes, yes. That's one of my terrible films that I love.
Yeah.
But and then of course, Jason Goes to Hell would have to be my number 2. And then my number 3 would probably have to be Jason Lives.
I think Jason Lives and The Final Chapter are my top 2, I think, in terms of favorites. I think The Final Chapter, to me, is the scariest, in my opinion, But
right, and then it has a great cast. Has some great kills to it. Fantastic performances. I find a lot of good things in a lot of the films, even like A New Beginning. Perhaps that people revere as the one that doesn't have Jason in it at all because it's a copycat. Well, it's still I'm sure in 1985 it got people. Okay, I'm sure I'm sure not always in the most positive way, but I'm sure it got people.
Well, it's got Melanie Kinnaman in it, and that's all that needed to get me.
Exactly, and of course Deborah Voorhees.
Deborah Voorhees, my director and 13 fanboy, and I understand she's part of this documentary as well. Yes,
the people that are going to be interviewed for this are not limited to the people involved in the 1993 film. No, we are getting people from all over the horror community. We are going to have some major surprises that people are just going to get a super big kick out of.
Well, you know what? I've had Adam Marcus and Deborah Sullivan on here twice, both individually, and then I had them on together earlier on this year. And one of the reasons I came on board for Hearts of Darkness is I just really like the two of them as people, and I haven't even met them in person.
Right.
Yeah.
They're a lovable bunch.
I loved Secret Santa. I got a kick out of it. And I always say to Adam Marcus, you got to have Deborah Sullivan do the cackle in every movie you do, because she opened her mouth so wide in that shot.
I know. It was...
Yeah. But
a fantastic film.
Yeah. And I love going on the live feeds, and interacting on there. How did you become involved with this movie?
Well, I was actually the I guess you could say the originator that spearheaded the concept. This little documentary, or this huge documentary rather, started out with a little Facebook post. I decided to start asking people out in the community through various chains of social media how they felt about Jason Goes to Hell, and sort of getting an idea for the climate. And then I started feeling, well, how would people feel about a Jason Goes to Hell documentary? And then after I started getting a really positive response from a lot of different avenues and a lot of different people from different walks of life, people that were, kids back then and people that are kids now and that are just discovering the film. And, then I started contacting the original cast and crew. And my plan was to sort of have my holsters filled with enough ammunition before I went to the king of all kings, Adam Marcus. And when I went to him, I told him, hey, I have this idea, and the fans seem to be really into it. How would you feel about us together doing this documentary? And from there, it just blew up. The first time that we announced the documentary, we were covered in over 19 countries. It was incredible for coverage to be sort of created out of nowhere for a feature-length documentary is very unheard of, and we were over the moon. And from there, we started assembling the team. I introduced Adam to this lovely, wonderful line producer based out of California, Ali Rivera.
Yeah, we're going to talk about her in a minute.
Yes. And, they ended up hitting it off. And, we just became this cohesive, warm family. And that is really what has really sculpted this documentary into what it is. And the old adage about the tree and the legs and the trunk being the strongest part of it, and the branches that support it, and it's really true. The team would not be what it would be if it weren't for the team, and if it weren't for the fans, and it weren't for the people that are getting themselves involved and that are pushing this thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure you know that every time I go on the live chats, I've always got to pick and jab Ali Rivera. I had her on my show. I get a kick out of her. I think she's hilarious.
Absolutely, she is one of the most entertaining individuals, and I saw a spark in her. When we first met, it was all because I had seen her in this little movie called The Raking, this horror film that she was in, and out of I told her with no qualms about it, look, Allie, in this film, you were the only shining light in it. And we just laughed about it. And, from there, we became involved in a couple different projects together. And, she's just the bomb.
Yeah. I'm right now. I love it too, because Adam will listen. I'm the one that tells Adam to give her the cheek pinch every week.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love picking and jabbing at her, I think she's hilarious.
She's like a little sister to everybody.
Yeah, yeah. I had her on the show here at the end of October, I think, and I just had a blast with her, and along with everybody else I've had on. One thing we do talk about, and I've said this to Adam, is Adam really has come into a spot where he's got to defend himself. And I think we all know Sean S. Cunningham had said some things at one of the Comic Cons that I don't know if he regrets saying them, but he was caught on camera saying them. And I remember the Fangoria magazine that came out with Jason Goes to Hell on it way back in the day. The line, "Get that damn hockey mask off of Jason," was in there back then.
Exactly.
So I don't know what Sean's going to think of this documentary. I know he's got a Comic-Con coming up, or one of those cons anyway. But what is your thoughts on this?
Well, this is my thoughts. Sean, obviously, okay, you would be pretty naive to think that any singular individual in this industry, let alone with connections to this character in this property, that we are doing this documentary based around, that wouldn't have knowledge that this documentary is taking place. Therefore, it's one of those things that I would think that, if Sean would have anything negative or positive to say about this documentary, then I've heard that he's a blunt enough individual that he would just come out and say it. And the fact that that hasn't come to fruition is makes us feel pretty good. And that's what I have to say about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see. I'm wondering, is Adam going to show the footage in the documentary or whatever? Because I'd seen it, and Adam and I talked to Lynx in our interview about this, and it's going to be kind of heartbreaking when you hear somebody say that, and then you find out online about it.
Yes.
Yep. Have you?
I mean, how many times in the past 5 years have we found out that one of our heroes or somebody that we grew up watching or listening to or reading about has actually been a very negative person who has done very terrible things.
Yeah.
And so all these little stories are coming out now because people are comfortable in saying these things, and they're comfortable in their own skin, that this is a day and age that you can be vocal about anything and everything that happens. And we know that we don't have to take it, and we know that we can just, explain to people, hey, there's lots of stories that you don't know, and that's why that's a great platform, or this documentary itself is a great platform for addressing things like this.
Yeah. Well, I'm really interested to see where this goes, because it seems that Adam is bringing more and more people. Why isn't Adam directing this? Not that I got anything against Edwin Samuelson, but why isn't he directing this?
Well, truthfully, I think he wants somebody that has an impartial perspective. I think that he wants somebody that can give it to Adam straight, just like he's going to give it to everybody else. Adam has said more than once that, he wants to be thrown any and every question. He doesn't even want to know about the questions that are going to be thrown. And you have to respect something like that. This isn't going to be a puff piece, as he stated multiple times. And with that, you sort of have to, it's sort of like somebody making their own, biography film. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a little odd because it's only from your perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And not to say that Adam's perspective is negative or would be biased, but, I think that Adam personally wants it from a individual perspective aside from his own, and you have to respect something like that.
Is there going to be clips from the film featured in this? Like, is New Line going to allow that, or how's that going to go?
Well, all I can say is that, as far as what the fans will physically see in the movie, everybody's just going to have to stay tuned. We're going to get and give as much as we possibly can. And at the end of the day, I think everybody's going to be very happy.
Now, the Paramount films that came before that, are they going to tie into this in any way?
I don't really think that they are going to. I can't speak to any certainties because at the end of the day, we're still very much building the product. But I would say that it is a pretty safe bet that since Jason Goes to Hell is a New Line Cinema property, that it probably won't be addressing the Paramount films. If I had to venture a guess.
I'm going to assume that since New Line Cinema grabbed Jason Goes to Hell, that Friday the 13th Part 8, Jason Takes Manhattan must have really shit the bed.
Well, it was not great for numbers, but a lot can be said for 1988. as it was for the box office. I mean, it wasn't a fantastic year overall. I can't even remember. You know, if you look at 85, 86, 87, you can generally remember the top movies of those years. But when it comes to 88, 89, those weren't the most fantastic box office years.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of cast members from the movie getting assembled from this. And I love the fact that Peter M. Bracke, who I've had on the show here, and we'll probably have him on again to talk about this, is part of this documentary as well. There's a lot of people that are brought in to this documentary that weren't necessarily featured in Crystal Lake Memories. And I'm wondering, and this is no fault on Peter Bracke, but I'm wondering if Jason Goes to Hell was intentionally kind of swerved from outside forces when it came to that.
Right. Well, you know, I mean, it's very much, you know, like any other job. You know, I would imagine that, you know, he had a desire to include anybody and everybody, but he was only allotted a certain amount of, you know, whether it had to do with funds or time or, you know, whatever constraint it would have been. I'm sure it was due to some sort of constraint that was put in front of him as to why he was unable to include, you know, certain individuals. And that's why it's very important to us that, you know, even though his name is Jason and even though Crystal Lake Memories and, you know, things like The Boogeyman, if anybody remembers that anthology documentary from back in the 90s, you know, whether it be any of those, Jason Goes to Hell has never really had its time to shine, and thus its cast and crew hasn't really had its time to shine, and so that's why the time is now.
Well, it's nice to see that, you know, you got is it Katherine Atwood?
Yes, Katherine Atwood.
It's nice to see that she got pulled into this because it's like, wow, I'd never heard her speak about this. So that's a great addition. How did you find her?
Well, you know, I found her like I found a lot of people through the internet and social media. And a lot of people were just very, very welcoming and just sort of tickled pink when I reached out to them because, as I said and as you said, there were a lot of people that just weren't included. And, you know, they haven't gotten to say anything, you know, and I'm sure they have just about 30 years of pent-up stories that they want to tell, and you know, fun goings on and little bits of trivia, and I mean, that's what makes this thing.
I think it's hilarious. They got Brooke Shear, who was just a child in this.
Exactly, you know, and you know, but it doesn't stop with her physical experiences. It goes with what her life has become as a result.
Oh, I think it's awesome.
And, I mean,
yeah.
She also has horror lineage in her blood because her grandfather, of course, created "I Spit on Your Grave."
Yeah, yeah. Is there anybody that you've tried to get in this that turned you down?
Well, no. Everybody that we have gone out to has been absolutely just so incredibly appreciative of being contacted for this thing. And like I said, you know, we have a lot of surprises up our sleeves. You know, the people that we have announced are just the people that we have announced. You know, the interviews are all yet to be known.
I'm interested to see if you guys get the girl that gets split in half in the middle up.
Hey, you know, nothing is out of the realm of possibility. You know, everybody's just going to have to stay tuned. But
you did get
at the end of the day,
yeah.
You know, this only is going to happen if in this final 8 days, or in the final days, you know, we accomplish our goal.
Well, you got 2 out of the 3 campers, so that's not bad.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know.
John D. LeMay you got in this. It's interesting because Adam Marcus said that originally when he wrote this screenplay, he wanted to bring back Tom Matthews and the Tommy Jarvis character, but he wasn't able to because Paramount owned that character.
Exactly.
So, yep. Is that going to be addressed in this?
You know, I don't know that it's out of the realm of possibility.
Yeah,
it's something that I'm sure is on everybody's bucket list to want to know why Tommy Jarvis was not included in Jason Goes to Hell. But you know, again, I'm sure everybody's just going to have to wait and stay tuned, and you know, who knows what little you know, creeping crevices and the things we have tucked in them away.
Well, you know what? For all the crap that Adam Marcus got for this movie, I'll tell you what praises I really sang for him. Number one, I love that opening bit where Jason gets blown up, and you got Julie Michaels as the supposed damsel. I told Adam I thought that was brilliant.
Absolutely. You know, it's a curveball, and everybody loves a curveball, especially in the opening of a film. That's why, you know, things like Psycho were such a profoundly effective film, because, you know, Janet Leigh was this very, you know, prominent actress, and here she is getting, you know, killed in the first few minutes of the movie. And then, of course, you know, something like Scream, where Drew Barrymore is billed as the top actress, and then, of course, she's killed in the first 5 minutes of the film. You know, everybody loves a good curveball, especially in the beginning, because it sets the precedent for that this is all bets are off.
And Julie Michaels looked lovely.
Yes.
So talk about your first impressions on people that have been brought into this, because I know there's a big list of them online there. Your impressions of what individuals stood out to you upon talking to them.
Wow. You know, I have to say that people like, you know, Michael Silver were really incredible, and just knowledgeable about the business. You know, Adam in his experience has been incredibly paramount. You know, you even look at people like, you know, the people that were involved in the effects department, like Robert Kurtzman, you know, who's involved in things like Dr. Sleep and The Haunting of Hill House, and, you know, just doing incredible things. And it really makes it worth it.
Yeah. And of course, another thing Adam did that I really liked, and kudos to him for doing this, because continuity in the Friday the 13th franchise has gone right to the shitter, you know. So in terms of the timeline and this and that, I love the fact he brought in the Book of the Dead from Evil Dead, and I guess he said even the Creepshow crate is in there as well. I love the fact that he brought this in as kind of an explanation as to why Jason keeps coming back to life.
Oh yeah, and I mean there's tons of different Easter eggs that are in there.
Yeah, those were 2 that he shared with me, but the Evil Dead one was right out there in the open. I didn't know about the Creepshow thing until he told me, but nonetheless, it all makes sense. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, and of course, I've been following this. I got to order the Blu-ray before the campaign is up, but I got to say, they got a lot of interesting stuff that they've got out there. Talk about what you find the most interesting perk that you've seen out of all of them. What's the most interesting perk you've seen?
Well, you know, my favorite perk, you know, would be things, you know, like masks and the dagger. I think the dagger is just so unbelievably cool, because I'm a weapons collector myself. But, I have to say the most interesting perk, if I had to pick any, would probably be the FU perk.
I told Adam I couldn't say that to you, man. but I love the fact he's including people that didn't like the film.
Exactly. You have to give it to him.
Like, I mean, I hated Jason X, but I'm open to interviewing people from it. I can, be open, You can still laugh at it, so.
Exactly. And I mean, I can list, I was just talking about Mannequin 2 on the Move. I mean, I can list a good, 20 films off the top of my head that are absolutely deplorable films.
The Room is one of my favorites.
What's that?
The Room is one of my favorites, and look at the title that's got.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy Wiseau was my first interview.
Oh, interesting.
Yep. So, yeah, I'm looking at the page, and you're on as a producer. I'm on as associate. Got a lot of good people involved in this, and yeah, I've had T.J. Bowser on, of course, a good head on his shoulders as well.
Oh, yeah, such a good guy.
Yeah, so I'm very, very excited about this this project as well. Did you talk to Julie Michaels?
We have, and she's just so exhilarating and excitable. And just such a fresh force, and she's still actively working all the time, and she's a firestorm.
Is she as stunning in person as she appears on screen?
Oh yeah.
I gotta veer away from Hearts of Darkness for a minute because I noticed you have a film that you've directed called Safe Place, and I was looking at that. I knew nothing about this film, but yet I have interviewed Genevieve Rossi twice.
Ah, yes, Genevieve.
I love her.
Oh, I know. She's a doll.
Yeah. Oh, I was talking to her this week, on just going back and forth on Facebook,
Oh yeah, she's fantastic, and actually, Safe Place is still to come. It's actually not a film I've already directed. It's a film that I will actually direct.
What can you share about this film? And then next year I'll have you back on when you have it completed.
Well, Safe Place is a refreshing take on the slasher film, and I'm sure you've heard that once before, and or actually a time or two before, and we try and do something a little bit different, and what I mean by that is that we take all of the normal horror cliches that you've seen over the years, and we essentially throw them in the garbage. You're going to find yourself with a slasher movie that is based off of strong minorities, a strong LGBTQ presence. You're not going to see the experienced gymnast that no longer knows how to run. You're not going to see the cell phones that don't work, the cars that don't start. You're not going to see all these things that limit and weaken people and weaken these character archetypes. Instead, you're going to see strong individuals with hurdles put in front of them, and they overcome them. If they don't, then they don't. But they go down fighting. And we worked tirelessly for several years to get this thing going. And it's just it's my baby, and we have some fantastic people involved. And it's going to be incredible once we actually get it out there, people. And we're fighting like hell to do it.
I love Genevieve Rossi, though. I'm glad you got her in this. That perked me up when I saw her name. I'm actually interested to see this just because she's in it.
Oh yeah, and she's actually playing a dramatic role, which is something that she hasn't really played before, and I'm giving her that sort of opportunity to step out of her comfort zone, which is something that I like to do anyway. So
yeah, oh she's awesome. You had mentioned to me before we started recording, and this kind of perked my interest. that you were involved in the Portland wrestling scene. You want to expand on that?
Oh, not the Portland wrestling thing. I was involved in the Florida.
Oh, okay, Florida.
Yes. I used to be a performer for Florida Championship Wrestling, which was the developmental territory at one point for WWF.
Oh, wow! So who did you wrestle?
I mean, nobody prominent that's working now.
Yeah, but mine goes way, way back, my mind on this. I just came from a Comic-Con in March, and I must have purchased about a dozen, I'm almost ashamed to say this, a dozen of those LJN rubber wrestling figures. I wish they would bring those back because you couldn't break them. I love those. I mean, I found Outback Jack, of all people.
A Toys That Made Us episode on them.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. James Balsamo for Zappers has got. He's a guy that I've cameoed for 7 times, and the one that Gino Vivarossi connected me with. I love those rubber figures, and you couldn't break them, unless your pet got a hold of them. I wish they would bring those back.
I know. But who knows? Nostalgia is very big. Maybe it only takes a little bit of push. But at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yeah. But I enjoyed those. I had a lot of fun with those. I could tell you right now, my cat loves my LJ George the Animal Steel. He'll rub against George the Animal Steel. I stuck Brutus Beefcake in front of him. He just shuns him.
That's great.
That's funny, but boy, he loves George. Something tells me though that my cat loving George the Animal Steel is kind of just right. Right. So if you,
the only semi-prominent person that you might know that I ended up performing with was Charlie Haas. He was at one point when he was actually contracted by WWF. He was one half of the world's greatest tag team with Shelton Benjamin.
Yep.
And was in a stable with Team Angle, with Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I did a spot to where he was on a table, and I was supposed to go off of the second rope onto him, and he flinched momentarily, and subsequently I went through the table knee first, and my knee became enclosed in the bracket that folds the table, and it completely separated my kneecap from my knee.
Oh.
Yes, and so after that, I sort of had to hang it up, and it was a good experience for a brief time, and I can't say anything else really about it except for that, that it was a good, beneficial, interesting experience, and I definitely couldn't do it anymore.
Well, we were talking, of course, about Jim Cornette and gotten in trouble. I always loved Jim Cornette, and I agree pretty much with everything he said about Vince Russo. But I gotta say, have you met him, and what was your experience upon doing so?
I have not met Cornette.
Okay.
I have only met individuals that have worked with Cornette.
Okay.
And so I can't really speak to knowing Cornette like that. But like I told you earlier when we were just talking, that I've heard multiple things. He's a very creative person, and a very good creative, and somebody who's a good, incredible asset to a wrestling company, if he just stays within the realm of being a wrestling creative and doesn't really give his opinions as it pertains outside of the business. And that's, and I mean, in a public stance. So, I
always listen to his podcast, anytime I can catch it. I just find him so animated and entertaining. I've done 2 wrestling related interviews. I've had I did a tribute to Rowdy Roddy Piper, one of my favorites. I had his son Colt and daughter Ariel on the phone with me, and did a tribute to him. And I had Princess Victoria on as well, my longest interview. She retired after an injury in 1984. I was reaching out for Velvet McIntyre, but she kind of has a hearing issue, and the Facebook page for Velvet and Princess Victoria was responding and very active on there. So I looked up Princess Victoria, and I loved what I saw, and I asked her to come on, and boy, she was very forward. I love the fact she did not hold back on people she didn't like. Yep. But
that's always good.
Yeah.
You know who you should try, who's active in the horror community as well as in the wrestling community, Al Snow. And he's actually very approachable. He's on Facebook. There's James Balsamo knows him.
Yep.
And so you should try. I've heard he's a great interview. Same with DDP.
Diamond
really accessible.
Diamond Dallas Page, I got to say, I appreciate the fact that he got Jake the Snake Roberts back sobered up and in shape, because I've always been a big Jake the Snake fan.
And I mean, big cast. I mean, the list goes on. He is incredible at renewing these guys' lives.
Yep, and yeah, I love that. Yeah, I should approach Al Snow. Have you met James Balsamo, and have you been involved in any of his movies?
I have not. I've only met him through social media, but he's a great guy, such a funny guy.
Yes, he is.
So inventive.
Well, like I said, I'm cameoed in 7 of his movies, and all I had to do... This is where social media and technology is so interesting, because when I was in high school, we had typewriters. Now you can film a movie on your phone, and here I sent him 7 clips for his movies, and I didn't even have to leave Fredericton.
That's incredible. Isn't technology a trip?
Like, I'm going to be in scenes on a television viewed by Eric Roberts in a Balsamo movie. Like, how does that happen?
I know.
Like, yeah.
And see, people give, and see, I'm one for the underdog, and so, people give people like Eric Roberts a lot of flack for doing stuff, and I mean, he's a pretty great guy and a pretty incredible guy, and you have to like somebody that is pretty down to do whatever. Somebody was disparaging Barry Bostwick because he does the same thing, and I'm like, hey, he's still working, isn't he?
Oh, I'd love to get Barry.
I always love when you hear this person's only doing it. Like, I remember when Jamie Lee Curtis was courted for making the new Halloween. Well, she's only doing it for the paycheck. Don't we all work for the paycheck?
Yeah.
I mean, why are we faulting somebody for making money? I mean, we truthfully, I have not reached, I don't know about you, but I have not reached a point in my life where I'm like, you know what? I don't need to make money. I don't want that money you want to give me. So I'm just going to say no. I mean, I can't fathom somebody that would do that. I myself am somebody that struggles, on a daily and weekly basis.
Yes.
And,
and that's another thing I love about this. I'm talking, like, the media plays off this red carpet, flash bulbs and stuff, and it's all phony bullshit. Yes, and none of that to me is real, I love the fact that you and I had, and TJ Bowser and Jason Bradford from 13 Fanboy, like, we got regular jobs, and you got people in the industry that are down to working with people like us, And
exactly. Do you know what I've done the past 4 days? I've worked for a hotel liquidator, a gentleman who simply goes in and buys everything out of hotel rooms. And I am one of 5 individuals that have to go in and work from work for 12 hours on our feet with just dollies and moving everything from stoves to sofa beds to dressers, armoires, architectural patine and salvage, everything down several flights of stairs.
Oh, wow.
And to load several semi-trucks a day.
Wow. That does not sound fun.
No, it doesn't.
Yep.
It is hard work, but you have to do what you have to do in life in order to help your family.
But on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, right now, you get to go on there online. Well, me, I like to go on there and poke Ali Rivera, but
Exactly.
But that is kind of fun. Nice break from daily routines. Do you have any charities you're involved in?
Actually, I love, and I do on occasion raise money for the Joyful Heart Foundation.
Okay.
Which is a charity that ends up raising money for sexual violence victims.
Okay.
And it is run by Mariska Hargitay of Law & Order Special Victims Unit.
Okay. Do you have a web page on that you want to promote on here?
It is actually joyfulheartfoundation.org.
Okay. Yeah, I got Adam Marcus's. I'm involved in one called the Doubtfire Face Challenge for Suicide and Depression Awareness, which came out after the Ice Bucket Challenge. And I threw it out to some of the people I've interviewed. Nancy McLaughlin from Jason Lives did this in front of some of the props in the movie. But I threw it out to Adam Marcus and the 13 Fanboy people. And Adam said he's going to do this with Deborah and all the people from Skeleton Crew. The Doubtfire Challenge it involves videoing yourself taking a pie in the face, and you nominate 3 people. I'm trying to get the industry involved.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
Yep. And you might have caught the thing the other night on there. I said, Allie gets 2 pies. And Adam Marcus is like, yep.
Well, I would definitely be down for something like that.
Yeah. Well, if you're down for something like that and you know 3 people in the industry you want to throw it out to, by all means, throw it out to them. I'm trying to get push this out there far because suicide and depression, especially depression, is not taken seriously enough.
I agree.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to discuss this, but you mentioned that some your past heroes have let you down. Is there any of that you want to discuss?
Oh, I mean, I'm not one to throw people under the bus or to mention names publicly. So,
okay.
I'll just say that yes, there have been some people through either the course of wanting to cast a film, or through general meeting, or through various circumstances in this industry that that were just disappointing, or very overconfident.
Wow.
Yeah. And I take it as funny little anecdotes that I can mention at parties.
Okay.
If sometimes I will partake if somebody puts a post that is, have you ever met a celebrity that is a negative? And every once in a while, I'll interact and say something. The only one that I could really say publicly is that I was working at a Ruby Tuesdays over here in Central Florida, and it was during the last shuttle launch.
Okay.
And Seth Green and Ethan Suppley came in.
Okay.
Ethan Suppley is the brother from My Name is Earl.
Okay.
And of course, Seth Green, generally people know who he is.
Austin Powers,
guy,
yeah.
And Austin Powers and such. And essentially, he came in, and he was very aggressively, very standoffish with our young minor host. He was just he was very, I don't want anybody to talk to me. I don't want anybody to look at me. I don't want to be bothered. But said it in a very aggressive manner, and wished the poor little 16-year-old girl ran in the back of our kitchen and cried to the servers.
Oh. Did you tell him off?
No. I for one, wasn't going to lose my job, and I'm sure I'm sure that it was just sort of brushed under the rug, and that I'm sure negative publicity wasn't wanted for Ruby Tuesday, so
No.
I'm sure nothing actually came of it. But nonetheless, it's just it's disappointing.
That is
that
disappointing.
something like that happens, but you have to, just like when you talk to a celebrity and they're like, well, I'm just like you and I. I mean, that's for everything. They can be like I've said, a couple times during this conversation. Anybody can be a terrible person, regardless of what they've done, or what they look like, regardless of what movies they've made, what singles they've put out. You never know who somebody is, obviously.
Well, you know what? I'd be happy to have you back on here next year, maybe around this time when hopefully Safe Place gets made. I hope you get to make that. That sounds interesting. So best of luck to that. And, of course, best of luck to Hearts of Darkness.
Absolutely. Hearts of Darkness is going to be awesome.
Yes. Before I let you go, would you mind doing a plug for my show?
Absolutely. This is Nick Hunt, and you are listening to Greg Gilbert on Python's Paradise.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Nick, for coming on here tonight. And I'm really glad for this movie. Allowed me to reach out, and Adam Marcus sang your praises. So there you go.
Well, thank you. And thanks to Adam, and thanks to everybody that's out there helping this thing along.